You feel the pressure, the traps, the sacrifices, and the silent kills. Every game is a battlefield. Every move can change destiny. Welcome to the world of elite chess, where legends are made and kings fall. Susaladnata Andrian opens with f4, the king-pawn charging forward, aggressively, claiming central space and daring Magnus Carlsen to immediately reveal his intentions. Magnus Carlsen answers with nf6, a flexible knight jump, eyeing e4 while calmly sidestepping theory, signaling a dynamic Alekhine-style provocation. Susaladnata Andrian pushes e5, boldly chasing the knight and grabbing territory, showing fearless ambition and an early desire to dictate the battle's direction. Magnus Carlsen retreats with nd5, the knight calmly stepping back, absorbing the pawn thrust and inviting white to overextend in classic counterpunching fashion. Susaladnata Andrian strikes with d4, reinforcing the center, building a broad pawn, phalanx, and doubling down on spatial dominance without hesitation. Magnus Carlsen replies Zix, undermining the pawn chain immediately, preparing dark square play and plotting a future central explosion with surgical patience. Susaladnata Andrian plays c4, chasing the knight again, grabbing more space and showing confidence, though the pawns now march far from home. Magnus Carlsen drops back with nb6, accepting the space deficit temporarily, trusting long-term pressure and peace activity over immediate territory. Susaladnata Andrian captures with x6, opening the center and cashing in central tension, refusing to let Magnus dictate the pawn structure freely. Magnus Carlsen responds x6, restoring material balance while opening lines for bishops, his position quietly gaining latent energy beneath the surface. Susaladnata Andrian develops nf3. A natural move supporting the center and preparing quick kingside safety without slowing his ambitious setup. Magnus Carlsen plays b7, a modest but flexible development, preparing castling and keeping his options wide in a still fluid middle game. Susaladnata Andrian develops b2, choosing solidity over aggression, signaling kingside castling and a desire to consolidate his space advantage. Magnus Carlsen castles oh, securing his king early, confident that his counterplay will arrive once white's center becomes a target. Susaladnata Andrian castles completing development smoothly. Both kings now safe as the strategic battle begins in earnest. Magnus Carlsen plays bg4, pinning the knight, applying subtle pressure and hinting at long-term discomfort in white's coordination. Susaladnata Andrian advances b3, preparing bb2, reinforcing the long diagonal and strengthening control over central dark squares. Magnus Carlsen develops n-cheeks, increasing central pressure, eyeing d4 and e5, and accelerating his piece activity decisively. Susaladnata Andrian plays bb2, unleashing the bishop onto the long diagonal, harmonizing pieces and reinforcing the center's backbone. Magnus Carlsen responds with bf6, centralizing the bishop, pressuring d4, and quietly challenging white's proud pawn chain. Counterstuff pawn chain. Susaladnata Andrian develops NBD2, reinforcing e-Fowler and c4, improving coordination while keeping options flexible for the rooks. Magnus Carlsen plays Re8, lining up rook and king, increasing latent pressure on e-file targets, and preparing a central break. Susaladnata Andrian answers with Re1, matching rooks, reinforcing f5 and signaling readiness for a central confrontation. Magnus Carlsen strikes with d5. The long-prepared pawn break explodes, challenging white's center and shifting the game into tactical territory. Susaladnata Andrian pushes c5, locking the structure, gaining queenside space, but also fixing targets that Magnus will soon attack. Magnus Carlsen retreats n7, rerouting the knight towards stronger squares, patiently regrouping for the coming maneuvering battle. Susaladnata Andrian plays Racone, activating the rook, supporting c5 and preparing queenside pressure with confident posture. Magnus Carlsen maneuvers n-fight, an unassuming move, but one that hints at kingside defense and future central redeployment. Susaladnata Andrian jumps n5, planting a knight centrally, attacking pieces and boldly challenging Magnus's coordination head-on. Magnus Carlsen captures with bx(2), exchanging a key defender and beginning a tactical sequence to loosen white's structure. Susaladnata Andrian recaptures rx(2), keeping material equal but pulling a rook forward, slightly exposing coordination under pressure. Magnus Carlsen follows with bxt, snapping off the advanced knight, eliminating white's central spear without mercy. Susaladnata Andrian responds ds5, restoring material but opening lines, creating dynamic imbalance and tactical opportunities for both sides. Magnus Carlsen jumps nb4, a sharp knight incursion attacking c2 ideas and immediately unsettling white's queenside stability. Susaladnata Andrian defends with rc3, an awkward but necessary move, shielding weaknesses while tying pieces into defense. Magnus Carlsen grabs c2, winning a pawn decisively, the knight pillaging deep in enemy territory without fear. Susaladnata Andrian counters with arg3, swinging the rook aggressively toward the kingside, hinting at attacking chances despite material loss. Magnus Carlsen calmly plays n6, regrouping, blocking lines, and extinguishing kingside fire before it can ignite. Susaladnata Andrian plays nf3, bringing a knight back to defense, steadying the position after Magnus's surgical strike. Magnus Carlsen retreats nb4, saving the marauding knight, having completed its mission, and returning safely. Susaladnata Andrian jumps n4, centralizing the knight, attacking key squares and trying to regain initiative through activity. Magnus Carlsen plays n6, improving the knight, contesting d4, and restoring harmonious piece placement. Susaladnata Andrian lunges nf5, an aggressive thrust, eyeing g7 and h6, injecting tactical tension into the position. Magnus Carlsen pushes d4, a powerful pawn thrust, cramping white's pieces and opening decisive central lines. Susaladnata Andrian responds refar, lifting the rook, blocking pressure, and preparing lateral defense under mounting stress. Magnus Carlsen plays qd5, centralizing the queen, coordinating threats and exerting enormous pressure on white's fragile structure. Susaladinata Andrean answers qf3, offering queen trades to relieve pressure, sensing the danger escalating rapidly. Magnus Carlsen sidesteps with k-fight, refusing simplification, keeping queens on, confident in his growing advantage. Susaladinata Andrean plays ra4, swinging the rook menacingly, trying to conjure kingside counterplay from thin air. Magnus Carlsen captures qxf3, accepting the queen trade at the right moment, converting initiative into a cleaner endgame. Susaladinata Andrean recaptures gxf3, damaging his pawn structure badly, opening files but weakening his king permanently. Magnus Carlsen plays g6, calmly sealing dark squares, nullifying threats and reinforcing king's safety with precision. Susaladinata Andrean strikes xt4, grabbing material, hoping to simplify and survive the storm through exchanges. Magnus Carlsen responds next 4, recapturing smoothly, maintaining material edge and central dominance effortlessly. Susaladinata Andrean plays the xt4, trading bishops, desperately reducing Magnus's attacking resources. Magnus Carlsen answers xt4, restoring piece balance and keeping powerful centralized knights. Susaladinata Andrean captures rx4, trading rooks, clinging to chances by simplifying wherever possible. Magnus Carlsen replies rxc5, a clean tactical win, grabbing a pawn and activating the rook menacingly. Susaladinata Andrean pushes b4, gaining space, and trying to create counterplay on the queenside flank. Magnus Carlsen plays a5, fixing pawns, opening files, and preparing a dangerous passed pawn with ruthless clarity. Susaladinata Andrean advances f4, an aggressive attempt to complicate matters and disrupt Magnus' coordination. Fight up! Magnus Carlsen delivers Rionani, a sharp check, forcing king activity and tightening the noose around white's position. Susaladinata Andrean steps kj2l, escaping check, though his king now wanders into a bleak, exposed landscape. Magnus Carlsen pushes a4. The passed pawn surges forward, becoming a long-term nightmare white struggles to stop. Susaladinata Andrean plays ra3, placing the rook actively on a3 to confront the passed pawn directly, desperately trying to slow Magnus Carlsen's queenside advance. Magnus Carlsen answers r-bone, swinging the rook laterally, threatening infiltration and cutting off defenses. Susaladinata Andrean plays rd7, active defense, attacking weak points and seeking counterplay against Magnus' back rank. Magnus Carlsen plays rb3, attacking from behind, coordinating rook and pawn with chilling precision. Susaladinata Andrean retreats ra2, maintaining blockade, fighting stubbornly despite worsening prospects. Magnus Carlsen advances a3. The pawn nearly queens. Tension skyrockets as promotion looms imminently. Susaladinata Andrean captures rx7, grabbing material, a last gasp attempt to muddy the waters. Magnus Carlsen plays RB2, defending the pawn and threatening decisive infiltration simultaneously. Susiladinata Andrian shifts Ra1, desperately aligning against promotion, hoping for a miracle hold. Magnus Carlsen pushes A2. The pawn reaches the second rank, the crowd senses the end approaching. Susiladinata Andrian plays RD7, trying one final blockade, throwing everything into stopping promotion. Magnus Carlsen plays R-bone, calmly coordinating rook and pawn, domination complete. Susiladinata Andrian retreats R-dawn, passive and constrained, his position collapsing under pressure. Magnus Carlsen captures Rx-stone, crushing the last resistance material and position decisively won. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the battle, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay sharp, because in chess, one move can change everything.